This time I'm going to show how I built the towers supporting the cross beams. The towers are built up from the building rig and glued into the structure. As the building process leaves the tower base a bit out of level, I need to start with a bit of sanding. Then I fit in plywood pieces to make up the sides. I measure the length so it fits where I have sanded. Then I glue them in place. Now I use thickened epoxy to make up a strong glue. I strengthen the seams with some glass fiber as well. After the lamination, it's time for some more sanding, and I do this outside. I use my glove-covered hand to feel how smooth the surface is. Then I adjust a little bit more. Inside I put on a new layer of epoxy. I cover the other sides with glass fiber as well. After curing, I can cut away the excess. And proceed with another turn with the sander. Before the next layer of epoxy. I strengthen the edges with another layer of glass fiber as well. And cover that with another layer of epoxy. More sanding to get it even smoother. My plan is to have hatches here, where the back cross beam is. First I roughly cut out the pattern. I circle out a couple of rings in 4mm plywood. Then I drill a hole and to get smooth edges I drill from both sides. I cut out the circle for the hatch. Then I cut out the piece. I round off the edges. I trim the plywood pieces until I get a nice fit. Like this, so I have something to place the hatch on. Now let's turn to the front towers. So the first thing to do here is to make an approximate cut. So I mark out the inside of the tower like that. So let's try that. Not too bad. I'm not sure even if it needs some trimming. Yeah, it will, but maybe only on this side. And just like that, we have another one. When everything is dry fitted and it seems to work, I turn to gluing. I put the epoxy on all edges that I'm going to glue and on the piece that I'm going to fit, and then I fit it. I add the next layer in the same way. And finally the third layer as well. I press so the pieces fits, and then I get rid of my epoxy exposed gloves. I use clamps to hold the pieces together. They are also handy to adjust the surfaces so they are level. After the curing, the clamps can be removed. As the epoxy has cured only less than 24 hours here, it's still a bit soft, and I can use this window scraper to remove some of the excess. Then I also put glass fiber on the inside. As I have already covered the laminate with 2 layers of epoxy, it's quite hard to cut through in some areas. This layer of epoxy is thickened with micro balloons. That is to make the surface easy to sand, but also smooth. Now the last sanding with an 120 grit sandpaper. I got some thickened epoxy around where I want to put the hatch, so I need to remove some of the excess. Then the hatch fits. Now let's quickly put everything together. Then I can drill big holes that I can fill with epoxy later and inside make smaller holes. In that way they will be watertight. I fill the holes with thickened epoxy. Put a piece of plastic over. And place a clamp on the top. The cross beam I treat in a similar way. I cover the holes with masking tapes so I can pour epoxy later in. Inside is a bit trickier. I have to use a stick here to place the masking tape. I use a piping bag to fill the holes with thickened epoxy. After curing I can remove the clamps and the plastic. I sand down the epoxy covering the holes. Now I can fit the beams again. I make sure everything is level before I drill the final holes. And as it's not so easy to be accurate, I have to adjust the holes a little bit and widen them. After the holes are drilled and everything fits, I can put back the holes into the garage. And continue with something else next time.